Kindly switch on your cameras, please.
I'm not getting. There is some break in voice. Can you repeat again? I'm not getting the audio. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, ma'am. We can completely hear you.
Okay. Now I can hear you.
Okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, shall we begin the session?
Sure, sure.
Okay. Simran, please go ahead.
A very good evening to everyone present here. I am Simran Jagatdev, the head coordinator at Law Internships and moderator for today's interactive session organized by Law Internships. We have amongst us Advocate Hamida Siddiqui ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am is practicing lawyer since 1993. Since the formation of Chhattisgarh High Court, she is practicing at Chhattisgarh High Court in different fields of law, that is civil, criminal, constitutional law, and arbitration. She is accredited meditator from MCPC and do court annex mediation. At present working as Deputy Advocate General at Chhattisgarh High Court. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. So shall we begin?
Yes, ma'am.
So all the students are from first semester, second semester, or they are intern like they have already completed? I'm little bit confused about that.
Ma'am, in this internship, the students, they are pursuing their first year to fourth year students.
First year to fourth year. So, okay, then positively they have their constitutional law in their syllabus. I think.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if anybody can hear me, can you reply, please, that you have already learned something about the Constitution of India? I think they are all muted. No issue.
Interns, you can unmute and please switch on your cameras.
Yes, ma'am. We have somewhat of idea. We think that we have
Right.
learned about the Constitution.
Right. So we all know that in Constitution, the writs can be filed under Section 226 as well as 32, Article 32 of the Constitution of India. And well, 226 before High Court and 32 before Supreme Court. This is the basic law. And what we are here to learn how to draft the writ petition. So as we know that if anybody will ask that describe rows. So for describing rows, you are supposed to know what is rose. Rose is a flower, right? Likewise, you have to understand about the writs and what kind of writs are available to a person, institution, or anyone to file before High Court or the Supreme Court. As all we know, the power to issue a writ is vested only in High Court or Supreme Court. None of the subordinate judiciary can file before whom the writ can be filed. Only the High Court and Supreme Court, the writs can be filed. And this is not very important to tell you, the people, that what are the types of writs. Of course, habeas corpus, mandamus, writ of prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto. So first writ is habeas corpus, present the corpus. Number 2 would be mandamus, do it. And prohibition, don't do it. Certiorari is particularly when the subordinate court or the order from which the writ has been filed says that the tribunal or the court was not having jurisdiction. And lastly, quo warranto. Quo warranto, you can say, tell your qualification. Like, as we know that what is requirement for any recruitment. as per the notification, as per the advertisement, there should be eligibility criteria. The person should be not above the age of 30 or 32, or he should possess this qualification, and he should be expertise in this particular field. So if a person fulfills all that criteria, then only he can be recruited. This is very important rate of quo warranto. And suppose a person who is not eligible to be appointed has been appointed wrongly, then quo warranto rate is there. So you all are knowing, I know this, because nowadays the students are studying law because they want to study law. So everybody knows about the types of writs. I will not go into the details. Later on, if the time will permit, I will go into the detail of the how the writs are described. So for second thing, we have to understand the Indian judicial system is a single integrated judicial system. And there are two parts. Number one, superior judiciary, that is Supreme Court as well as High Court. And the second is subordinate judiciary. Subordinate judiciary is lower courts under the control of the high courts. So writ is extraordinary jurisdiction, extraordinary power granted to the high courts as well as the Supreme Court. And you also remember one thing, that the power under 226 is much wider than the power under Article 32 of the Constitution of India. When writ can be filed, there would be a question. Number one, when there is violation of fundamental rights provided under the Constitution of India. And second, when there is any violation of any rules, or the statutory provision, then the writ can be filed before High Court or the Supreme Court. Now I will come to the point that when the writ can be filed, what are the circumstances where one person can file the writ petition? So the first condition is for the implementation of the fundamental rights, the writ can be filed under section 226, article 226 as well as article 32, as I have told you already. And second would be when we challenge the constitutional validity of law. Constitutional validity of any law, and this is known as judicial review. The first would be mandamus, which I told you, that 32-26. The second would be judicial review or the validity of any law. Like, you know, several writ petitions are being filed in Supreme Court challenging the validity, like validity of CAE is under challenge, validity of many other laws are under challenge before Supreme Court, as well as the respective high courts in different states. The third would be writ can be issued where one legislature encroaches upon the field which is assigned to another. Like, central government cannot make law or rule upon the state subject. You know, under the Constitution, the subject has been provided to, some subjects are state subjects, some subjects are the central government subject. So the central government cannot make the subject, state subject, no legislation can be made by the central government for the state subjects. So this is the third condition where the writ can be filed. And this is known as doctrine of repugnancy. And you can get it under Article 254 and 246 of the Constitution of India, where it is given that the state or the central government cannot make the rule which is not under their subject. So Article 246. Legislature as well as the people. An act of legislature represents the will of the people and cannot be lightly declared as unconstitutional. And further, subject matter of law made by parliament and by the legislature of the states. Notwithstanding anything in clause 2 and 3, parliament has exclusive power to make laws with respect to any of the matter enumerated in list 1 in the 7th schedule, in which the constitution referred to as the union list. Notwithstanding anything in clause, parliament and subject to clause 1, the legislature of the state also have power to make laws with respect to any of the matter enumerated in list 3 in the 7th schedule in the constitution to as the concurrent list. The lists are different: union list, concurrent list, and thirdly, subject to clause 1 and 2, the legislature and any state has exclusive power to make laws for such state or any part thereof which respect to any of the matter enumerated in list 2 in the 7th schedule in the constitution referred to the state list. So the position is very much clear. The list is different. So one legislature cannot encroach upon the other. If that is so, then the writ can be filed before any competent court having the jurisdiction, either by the state or by the before the Supreme Court. So is it clear to all?
Yes, ma'am.
The fourth would be judicial review of administrative law. It is simple mandamus, like any order passed by any state government is amenable to writ jurisdiction of that high court. What are the administrative orders like? That may be transferring any officer, that may be promotion matter, that may be any policy matter, that may be any refusal of any grant which is supposed to be given under the law to the employees. Or if we see other than the service matter, like there is a contract matter in which some apparent jurisdictional error or anything has been done which is violative of Article 14 or 19, then these are the administrative orders which is amenable to the writ jurisdiction. And then sixth would be judicial writ petition, we can say it, to keep the tribunal within their bounds. It is very important, and this is important for the administration also, for the state, that the tribunal or the subordinate judiciary cannot travel beyond the jurisdiction. So these are the conditions with the writ, where the writ can be filed. So it is clear. And now the question would be, who can file the writ petition? It's very simple answer. Any person who is aggrieved by any act can file the writ petition. So what is the precedent condition? That is the person having locus standi. How the locus standi matters? The person who is aggrieved by any order, any act of the state government can file the writ petition. So you know that PIL is the exception to that. public interest litigations are exception to the condition of this locus standi. Anyone can file the writ petition, which is important for the welfare of the society, welfare of the state, or public at large. We'll discuss it later, how the PIL can be filed. So I will further explain you that how the writ petition can be filed and in what manner the writ petition can be filed. I would like to complete some of the important features of filing of the writ petitions. Firstly, if you are going to file the writ petition, there will be against whom you can file. Like I discussed that there should be locus standi. Second thing, against whom it can be filed. We know the High Court has exclusive power to issue a writ, but not the subordinate judiciary. Therefore, if there is a dispute between person to person or any infringement of the civil right, where the person will go? Obviously before the civil court. But writ can be filed only against the state government, the state, either central government or the state government. And this has been defined under Article 12 of the Constitution of India, where the writ petition can be filed against the respondents, that is Parliament of India, Government of India, state government, legislature of the state, and its instrumentality, like, you know, corporation, Bharat Sanchar Nigam, municipal corporation, NTPC, SECL, you must have heard all these names, BHEL, these are the government instrumentality. So against this has been defined under Article 12, and the writ can be filed against these institutions. And if we go further, what are the laws? Article 13. Article 13 speaks about the laws pre-constitution, the laws before 26 January 1950. If that is consistent with the law or the constitution, then it's valid, otherwise it's void. Article 13 says. And Article 32 says it is about the law after 26 January 1950. That would be post-constitution. So these are the conditions where the writ can be filed. Writ can be filed by any person by the order. And I want to make it clear that I will further discuss about the nomenclature of the writ petitions. So if a service matter, WPS, if a person files writ petition service, then he can challenge that particular order and he can seek the relief that this order be quashed up to my extent. A single person cannot file a writ petition seeking for the quashment of the entire order. Supposedly, if there is an order of promotion, which includes my name as well as 12 persons' name also. So I cannot challenge the entire promotion order. I will have to seek for the quashment of the order up to my extent. There is a very important issue that a service matter cannot be filed, service writ petition cannot be filed by a person for quashment of the entire order if that contains name of different persons. Unlike in WPC, that order can be quashed as a whole, right? So Now I will come how to file the writ petition. Firstly, I will come to the nomenclature of the writ petitions. You know, different high courts have different rules for filing of the writ petition, which are to some extent similar. Like classification of the writs, WPC, number 1, that is other than service matter. Like all matters, like a person is prohibited to enter into temple. What classification of the writ would be there? WPC. Like an order or any tender has been issued in which a particular condition has been imposed, which is discriminatory or violative of Article 14 or 19, then what kind of nomenclature would be there? WPC. That nomenclature would be WPC. And if that is service matter, like I have mentioned, transfer or promotion or any other grant, revised pay scale or anything, then WPS. This is very simple. And I have already mentioned to you that service matter has a very peculiar jurisdiction, that it can be filed by the person aggrieved, as well as the writ petition service cannot be filed by any association. Like if we have a Karmachari Sangh or welfare Sangh of teachers or whatever, they cannot file the writ petition service for seeking relief in total. Every person has to file the writ petition service for redressal of their grievance, right? Then would be WPCR, writ petition criminal. Like there is a person's right has been violated, or any act of cheating has been done, or something criminal act has been committed by any other party, and I have lodged the report to the police and police is not doing anything. So what is the remedy available? Firstly, there will be approach to higher officials. Like if a station house officer is not doing anything, then person will go to superintendent of police. If superintendent of police is not doing anything, then he can approach to the High Court seeking remedy, that see, in the light of such and such judgment, the SHO was supposed to register the crime, which he is not doing. Please issue the writ of mandamus for the registration of the FIR. However, there are a lot of dispute about this, because the courts are, High Court is not entertaining the petition of registration of the FIR in the light of Sakri Basu's case, that the person has remedy to approach the magistrate by filing the complaint under section 200 of CRPC. But Lalita Kumari's judgment is also there, which says that if the complaint discloses the cognizable offense, then FIR should be registered. At least there should be some inquiry. So these are the areas where there are dispute before the courts. Two kind of laws are there, conflict is there, but a person can approach by filing the writ petition criminal before High Court, and the courts are bound to issue notices and to pass the verdict. Now the question would be, I'll be forgetting later, therefore I'm thinking it appropriate to tell it at this stage. The power of the High Court in hearing the cases under WPCR is at par with 482 of CRPC. even wider than that. So when a person is approaching to file WPCR, it has the inherent jurisdiction of the High Court, which can be exercised by the High Court in petition under WPCR. You know, when there are writ petitions are filed, these are heard by the single bench. Like the writ petitions, normally WPC, WPCR, WP 227, WPT, WPL are being heard by the single bench, except for the contract matter. When any contract is under challenge before High Court, then it has to be heard by the division bench, not the single bench. And all other writ petitions are being heard by the single bench, like a single judge. One single judge is sitting the matters, listening the matters. So now the question would be, as I mentioned, that the power in WPCR is equal to power under 482 of CRPC's power of the court. So when there is an order which is not in favor of the party can file writ appeal to the division bench of the same High Court, right? Against the order in WP writ petition, there will be appeal to division bench. But if an order has been passed in WPCR, there cannot be appeal to division bench. Remember this. If any order has been passed in WPCR, a person wants to challenge the same, has to approach the Supreme Court by filing the SLP. Therefore, what I have submitted, that the power in WPCR are equivalent to the power under section 482 of CRPC. Because if there will be any order under section 482 of CRPC, there cannot be further remedy in the same High Court. The person has to approach the Supreme Court by filing the SLP, right? So first is WPC, second is WPS. Now would be WPCR is the third. WPT, transfer of any case from one court to another court. Like if a person has every reasonable doubt that there cannot be justice by this particular judge, and the person wants this case to be outside of the district, then he can approach the High Court saying that my case may be transferred to another district. Likewise, if there is a dispute or a person wants any particular case to be transferred to another state, he can approach the Supreme Court, right? So fifth would be WPL. These are the nomenclature or the classification I'm referring. WPL, you know, we have industrial courts, labor courts. The orders are passed by the commissioner, labor court, labor officer. Challenge, if one person has to challenge these orders, the nomenclature of the writ petition would be WPL. Then next would be WPPIL, where the person does not require any locus standi, rather he has to prove that he has no personal gain from this writ petition, right? And WP 227. This is very important because this is the writ of certiorari. When can the writ petition 227 can be filed? When lower court or the subordinate court has acted beyond jurisdiction. The court was having no power to deal that subject, or he has committed an error apparent on the face of record, or he has not followed the provision of law, then in that case, WP 227 will be filed challenging the order of the subordinate courts, like any tribunal. You must be knowing about 3912 CPC. When a suit is filed for permanent injunction or declaration of title, and the person has prima facie case and balance of convenience in his favor, and there is a chance of irreparable injury, then 3912 application will be filed of CPC will be filed before the court below. If the application has been filed, the court will pass either stay of the proceeding or stay of the construction, or whatever is the case. There will be stay in favor of the party. Suppose a person is aggrieved by that order, he has not got the order in his favor. So what is the remedy to available to the person? He can file appeal, first appeal to the additional district judge under section 41 of CPC, right? So this is statutory provision. The law has provided the provision to file the appeal. The appeal will be filed before the ADJ, district judge. Then against that order, if a person is aggrieved by the order passed by the district judge, then WP 227 will be filed challenging the order of the ADJ as well as the civil judge, right? So this is the remedy available under WP 227. Always remember, in WP 227, the court cannot upset the facts which has been held by the two courts. Like there is a concurrent finding of the two courts. Whatever may be the case, the court has jurisdiction to pass the order. Accordingly, the court has passed the order. But prima facie, apparent on the face of record, the court has not followed any law and has acted beyond jurisdiction. Then the High Court will pass the order upsetting that order, saying that no, the lower court was not having this jurisdiction. So this is writ of certiorari. And the I think I have completed. First one is WPC, second one WPS, WPCR, WPT, WPL, WPPIL, and WP 227. So this is the nomenclature of the writ petition. Now I'll come to how to file the writ petition. Have you seen any drafted copy of writ petition? The format is there. I'll be sending it on chat box. You can see the format. So so if you are going to, you can find it on the internet everywhere. This is format, how to file the writ petition. In the High Court of so and so, judicature at so and so place. The first line would be before the High Court of Chhattisgarh. Suppose I am from Chhattisgarh, I will refer that. In the High Court of Chhattisgarh at Bilaspur, because at Bilaspur is the High Court situated for the entire state of Chhattisgarh. That will be in the bold letter. Just below that, right side, there will be WPC or WPS or WP 227, whatever may be the case. I have already given you the nomenclature. Then there will be petitioner. Who can be the petitioner? The person who is aggrieved. The entire particular will be there, like name, father's name, and other details, age, occupation, everything should be there. So one thing should be in your mind, how the writ petitions are entertained by the court, and how without any examination of the witnesses or exhibition mark on the document, the courts are relying on some few papers and the writs are being issued. And contrary to that, in the civil court, what they do, there will be petition filing, suit filing, there will be counter or the written statement, their issues will be framed, there will be evidence of the parties, the documents will be exhibited, then only there will be verdict by the civil court. And a writ is very simple, like you are throwing the papers to the court and you are getting the order. No, this is very important because all the writ petitions are supported by the duly sworn affidavit of the party. And this is very pious. There cannot be any separation of the fact. There will be contempt upon you. So this may be simple, but it's very dangerous if you are suppressing anything or you are not stating the correct fact, because there will be cross-check by the other party who will be the respondent. So every writ petition should be supported by the affidavit of the party. This is the one condition. So now again, I will go back. The petitioner, the complete detail of the petitioner versus respondent. And now who can be the respondent? If anybody can answer me, please. If anyone, Nikhil, can you answer who can be the respondent? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please answer who will be the respondent? The petitioner is the first party who should have the locus standi, or he should be the person aggrieved. But who will be the respondent? Petitioner versus respondent. Who will be the respondent? I have told you.
Government bodies like institutions, different.
Number one, Union of
Uh,
India.
Yes.
Number two, state government.
Number two, BSN, NTPC, BHEL, BHEL. type of
Any
institution.
instrumentality of the state government, the part and parcel of the state government. But I'm not excluding the state government. First and foremost, state government, Union of India, then their instrumentality, who are amenable to the writ jurisdiction. You cannot file the suit, you cannot file the writ petition when your property right has been violated. Like if your neighbor is not giving you the way, you cannot file the writ petition. You have to approach to civil court, right? But if government is blocking your way, you will file the writ petition. If corporation is taking you or charging you excess fee, property tax or anything, or electricity department is doing anything wrong, not the consumer thing. Again, I'll come to that. So who will be the respondent? The state government or its state government, Union of India, or its instrumentality like corporations and other institutions. Then there will be particulars of the order, the nomenclature of the writ petition. Writ petition under Article 226 oblique or 227 or oblique 32. If you are approaching Supreme Court, of course, that will be Article 32. If you are approaching High Court, that will be 226 oblique 227, as may be the case, right? Then further, there will be delay in filing. Delay in filing in writ petition is very important thing, because you cannot challenge an order of 20 years back. If something bad happened to you or you were aggrieved at that time and you were sleeping over the matter, you cannot challenge right now. If you were denied promotion in the year 2008 and now you are challenging in 2020-21, that writ petition will be not entertained by the High Court on the ground of delay and laches. So that is one of the declaration is asked by the High Court in the format, explain the delay if there is any delay in filing the writ petition. That format is there. So be very careful when there is infringement of any right, approach the court immediately. Don't sleep over the matter. And if though you have a very good case, but you cannot win if you were sleeping over the matter and have not filed the writ petition within limitation, though limitation has not been provided for filing the writ petition, but that should be reasonable time, like 6 months, 8 months. You can explain that why you have not challenged the same. Then delay in laches, remedies exhausted. There will be another column, remedies exhausted. इसको डाल सकते हो तो करके देखो. Come this side. Remedies exhausted. This is very important because you know there are laws in different fields, like there is a Land Revenue Code, Municipal Corporation Act. There are certain other laws, Waqf Act or Commercial Courts Act. Lot of acts are there. In that case, you cannot come directly to the High Court by way of filing the writ petition. Suppose, you know mutation and partition prescribed under Land Revenue Code. You must be knowing, if a person buys a property, he put his name in place of the previous owner, that is called mutation. Likewise, you are four brothers and now it is high time, now you want to partition the property, you will approach to the authority, Tehsildar, for partition. So if Tehsildar passes an order for the mutation or for the partition, whether you can challenge it before High Court? No, because the statutory remedy is provided under the law, right? What is that remedy? Against the order of the Tehsildar, you can file appeal before SDO, subdivisional officer. And again, if you are aggrieved by the order of the SDO, then you will file the revision before collector. And also there is a hierarchy of the appellate authority that goes up to Board of Revenue. Like I'm giving you one example. There is every provision in every law. Like every law has its own appellate system. If a person is aggrieved by the order passed by the Board of Revenue, that is the top authority of the Revenue Department, then 227 will be filed. If you are getting me, I have submitted, I have explained before you that when 227 can be filed, when the authority or the tribunal was having no jurisdiction. But it doesn't mean that the order of the Tahsildar will be filed or be assailed before the High Court, because there is alternative remedy available to the petitioner. High Court is not meant for, 226 is not meant for everything. You have to approach the authority first. But this is not applicable in all cases. Like if that is a contract matter, authorities have put a particular clause to give favor to a particular company, that there cannot be civil suit, there cannot be any other remedy, but the person aggrieved has to approach the High Court only. Again, further, in I have attached sample of writ petition for everyone. You can see that how the writ petitions are being filed in High Court of Chhattisgarh. So I was explaining you that how delay matters, as well as how there will be the writ petition cannot be entertained by High Court when there is alternative remedy available to the person. So there is always an explanation that there is no efficacious alternative remedy available to the petitioner. This is the declaration sought in the form of format that you have to explain that you have no remedy other than to approach this High Court. So the delay part I have explained, the remedy available to approach the authority. If that is not there, then only you can file the writ petition. Like, you know that Civil Services Conduct Rule, MP Civil Services Conduct Rule, and Civil Union of India, Central Government Civil Services Conduct Rule. If you see the Civil Services Conduct Rule, if a person has been suspended, if there is a suspension order, a person has been suspended, the employee has been suspended, whether he can approach the High Court? No. There is a departmental appeal provided. Departmental appeal, if that remedy has not been exhausted by the person, then High Court will send it back to the authority, go and exhaust that remedy first. So if you are seeking anything from the High Court, you have to be very careful that when it should be approached, the advocates are filing the writ petition, knowing very well that this will not be maintainable. So be very honest with your clients. Value their time, value their money. If you are going into this field, be very honest and advise them properly. You may not get the few cases, but in future, this will build a very good thing for you. Like, this goes from mouth to mouth that this person is very honest, this lawyer is very honest. So be very careful. If there is alternative remedy available to the parties, don't file the writ petition. One should never file the writ petition. But there are exceptions to that also. We know that if there is violation of principle of natural justice, and if there is violation of human rights, if there is violation of any other right guaranteed by the Constitution of India, then one can even take the attempt. These are the exceptional condition where, though the remedy was available to the petitioner, this is not the thumb rule that High Court will never entertain or Supreme Court will never entertain the petition in which the alternative remedy was available to the parties. But commonly, generally, this should not be the approach that we file the writ petition against the order which is appealable otherwise. So now I'll come to the particulars of the order. So first was the party's name, remedies available to the parties, or delay and laches. Then particular of the order against which the writ petition is the file, that is the subject matter of the petition. What should be that? That should be which order is being assailed, particulars of the order date, authority, and by whom it has been passed, and how you are aggrieved by that. Like if you are challenging one order in which you are working as a superintendent of police and you have just joined the place. It is not 1 month you have joined the place and you have again been transferred to a very highly Naxalite affected area. And another person who was working here for 10 years and has very high nexus with the political parties has been able to challenge, to cancel my order of transfer. Then I can file the writ petition and I will mention everything that, see, for accommodating this person who is powerful and who has nexus with the political people, has been able to cancel my transfer order, then court will entertain that order and this will be your subject matter in brief, as well as particular of the order being challenged before High Court. Now comes grounds, particulars of the order which is under challenge, then grounds. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Facts. Facts, you have to mention everything, every minute detail, like petitioner is the citizen of India and has every right to amenable to the rights guaranteed provided under the law. Then petitioner was working from this date to this date. He is very sincere. He is working hard. This and everything, every minute detail about the petitioner and which is relevant to the writ petition. One thing I forgot. What is the writ? Writ is a command, written command by the court. So every writ should be supported by an affidavit as well as the annexures. Annexure should be there because there is no testimony or there is no way of recording the statement. Courts rely upon the affidavit and the pleading. The facts pleaded in the writ petition is taken as sacred as the person has testified in the court of the civil court. So every minute detail has to be mentioned in the facts supported by the affidavit, and in support of their every contention, the document should be annexed. Like the case which I am referring is the simple transfer order. So first thing that he has joined the place from this time, and earlier also he has been transferred from here to there, and everything which is in the support of their contention has to be filed, and this should be very specific. Because what happens, the advocates are arguing the case. When they are arguing, there will be lot of things which is not pleaded. This happened, my client went to the office of so and so, that officer said, no, you cannot enter into my office, go and do whatever you can do. Is there any legal sanctity of what he is submitting before the court? No, because it has not been pleaded. If a person is not pleading, anything cannot be argued. Argument should be well within the four corners of the pleading only. You argue the case what you have pleaded. If you have not pleaded, then you cannot argue the case, more particularly before High Court. So pleading of the fact is very important. For a moment, if you are not mentioning, you forgot to mention any law, law is not required to be pleaded. Law is not required to be mentioned in the law. Law is applicable if said or not said, pleaded or not pleaded. If forget anything in grounds, it is okay, but you have not pleaded anything facts, then that cannot be read by the court. And the argument, there is no system of recording your argument. Like courts are not being recorded. So whatever you say in the open court has no value until it is written. You must be knowing that why lawyers are giving the written argument, when they don't trust the judge, that this judge is biased, he'll not write my contentions. So what they do, if they have to assail the order before Supreme Court, they give written argument so that that should be on record, that this was the case and this was my submission which has not been considered by the judge. So pleading is very important, pleading of facts. So I think now it is clear that how the fact has to be pleaded. Now question would be grounds. As I have explained that every ground available to the petitioner, how can the writ be filed? If there is violative of fundamental rights provided under Part 3 of the Constitution of India, you must be knowing everything, need not to say or explain by me. So if there is violation of any fundamental rights, if there is violation of any statutory right provided by the different statutes of the state as well as the Union of India. In the ground, you have to mention every fact or every law which is violated by the respondent side. And you remember one thing in drafting the writ petition, particulars of the order which is under challenge before this High Court. In every order, there will be signature of an authority. Like if it has been passed by the Commissioner of the Municipal Corporation, or this order has been passed by Inspector General of the Police Department or DGP, Director General of the Police, whose order is assailed before the High Court, he should be the necessary party. For drafting the writ petition, the respondents should be State Union of India through that particular ministry, number one. State of Chhattisgarh through secretary of that particular department. Then there will be joint director, and that person who has issued the order. Because if the authority who has issued the order will not be made amenable to the jurisdiction, that order will never be quashed by the High Court, or there cannot be any mandamus issued by the authority, because what is the principle of justice? Audi alteram partem. So no one can be condemned, or there cannot be any order without hearing the other side. So always remember, see the signature first. If you are getting the paper that madam please ye order challenge kar dijiye, then you have to see who has passed the order. Oh, this gentleman, okay. He will not the name of the person only the authority which he is holding. So always remember, then every available law should be pleaded in the grounds, as well as if there is violation of principle of natural justice, that proper opportunity of hearing has not been given to you, that has to be mentioned in the grounds. So everything which is available to you for your case has to be pleaded in the ground. And of course, the any statute which you are relying, particular section has not been followed or this has been violated, that has to be mentioned. Now comes to the relief. So particulars of the order, facts, grounds. Now I am coming to the relief. So relief is the part where you have to ask the court, what do you want? This may be in the form of number one, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, quo warranto, and what I am forgetting, habeas corpus. So whatever the problem you have and what is the grievance you have, that has to be sought in the relief clause, like respondent authority be directed to correct this particular order passed by the authority be quashed, the particular person has been kept in captivity against his will, the respondent authority may be called to bring that person with body before the High Court, or this particular work is not being done by that authority, they may be directed to do so. So whatever you want should be clear in your order, relief sought, because the relief cannot be granted beyond what you have asked. So ask more, but one relief should be very solid, very genuine, upon which the court can pass the order. Like there are formula thing, like the cost of the petition be allowed to be granted, or any other relief which High Court deemed fit be granted. So these are formatting things, but the main thing you should never forget. Like, what is the, when you have challenged the, you are saying that this is the law which provides that the age of the vice chancellor, the age of the principal or the professor should be not more than 65 years. This is the law to be appointed or to be continued as a vice chancellor of a particular university. And you have not challenged that particular law or the rule. And your neighboring state has granted the facility to be appointed as a vice chancellor even more than 65 years, up to 70 years. Any principal or the professor can be appointed as a vice chancellor of that particular university. A person aggrieved by that he cannot continue above 65 years has challenged the filed the writ petition, saying that, see, in the neighboring state they are providing this facility to be continued as a vice chancellor even more than 65 years. Can this relief be granted? No, it can never, because you have to challenge that particular rule which is available in your state for your university. You have to challenge that particular ordinance or the law which is prevailing at present in your state, in your university. Recently, I have gone through one case in which the similar relief was being sought by the petitioner. And when there is a virus matter or any provision of law which is under challenge, the petitions are being filed before the division bench. Single bench has no power to entertain where the laws and rules are under challenge or the virus of any act is under challenge. So I was the counsel from the university. I have made this objection that, my lord, the constitutional validity of this particular act has not been challenged, and this matter cannot be heard by the division bench. This has to go to the single bench. The court gone through the entire petition and written back the matter to the registry to verify where the petition will go. So these are very small things, but very fine things to do by the lawyer, that where to challenge, what to challenge, and how to challenge. Be very particular about the relief sought clause. And you are saying something and relief should not be another. Now I'll come to relief sought. Then this is it. This is the entire writ petition, starting from description of the petitioner, respondent, then order against which the writ petition is being filed, delay and laches, alternative remedy, facts, then grounds, and lastly relief. This is it. This is the entire writ petition, supported by affidavit as well as supported by the annexure upon which you are relying. And there is one more thing: ad interim writ petition. What is ad interim writ petition? As you know, interim means always during the pendency of the main petition. So if this order will be passed or this order will be executed, will cause irreparable loss to the petitioner. Therefore, the balance of convenience is in favor of the petitioner, and prima facie case is in favor of the petitioner. Then along with the writ petition, you can file ad interim writ petition supported by another affidavit. There will be separate affidavit because you are seeking a stay of that order which is under challenge in the main writ petition. And for that matter, if you have a good case, prima facie case, if this is the demolition by the corporation. If a person is approaching High Court with an allegation that, see, this, I am the owner of the house, this is my registration paper, this is my permission granted by the corporation, and I am acting upon the map granted by the corporation. I have never violated any law. I am well within my boundaries. Now they are, without issuing me any notice, they are going to demolish my property. If you have that much document, you can immediately approach the court along with the application of ad interim relief, saying that this may be stayed, otherwise I will be nowhere. I have invested this much money and I am residing with my family. So ad interim writs are very important. That should be supported by every document, like you have to annex all the documents which are relevant for you, like registry paper, khasra B1, the property, the photographs of the property. So like the main petition, you have to take care of the interim applications. So I think for filing of the writ petition, it is clear. And if the time is permitting, I will go back to the types of writ petition. The time is there. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it's already 7:12.
So I have to sum up for today. Is it? Or there will be interaction round?
Ma'am, there is an interaction round also there. So if anybody has any question, you can feel free to ask, ma'am. Also, you can type in the chat box. Please feel free to ask.
one sample repetition 4. So in the chat box, the PDF is there. 4 different kind of repetition. Habeas
ma'am, we
corpus.
received. Yes, we
220,
received.
yes. So please go through. So you have to understand what is the law. Until you will know this can be challenged, this cannot be challenged, you cannot draft a writ petition. So first you go through the entire constitution, because this is the Gita for the law students, the Constitution of India. Everybody should have this small book of constitution. You read it, you will come to know that what everything is there, and accordingly you can draft. Until you will know that this is the remedy available under the law, you cannot draft the writ petition. Or you have to go through by the statutes. If a particular subject is coming to you, nobody knows anything until by experience he can gain the things, like Panchayat Raj Adhiniyam, Limitation Act, Evidence Act. So there are a lot of laws. Criminal Major Act, Minor Act, NDPS Act, Excise Act, lot of acts. Every time there are new things coming up, like Supreme Court is passing new orders, the earlier orders are not there. Like in NDPS, there are always new cases. You know that Hira Singh's case, that says something. The earlier judgment has been overruled. Now again, this is being interpreted by different high courts. So you have to study, you have to understand the law and the Constitution of India for filing the writ petition. Format is always there. You can go through the internet, you will get the format, but a format will not do unless you know the law. I think nobody has any question. Okay, Simran.
Yes, ma'am. I guess nobody has any question.
Right.
No.
I guess, ma'am, we can end up here as nobody is at.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Further, I
That
would
was
like
arranged.
to move with vote of thanks. On behalf of Team Law Internships, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Advocate Hamida Siddiqui ma'am for taking out time from a busy schedule and interacting with the young minds. It was truly an
Thank you, ma'am. It was very insightful.
Thank you again, ma'am, for sharing such wonderful knowledge and experience with us.
Thank you so much. If anyone has any question, feel free to ask me. I'm typing my email ID, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Best of luck.
Thank you.
You can call me even. I'm also giving you the number or WhatsApp if there will be anything in future. Thank you, Simran. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.